Hello and happy Friday. This should be happy Xbox Friday. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and my goodness, you can tell by the Twitter streets that this is a joyous day for anyone that is an Xbox fan, anyone that is an Activision fan, and anyone that is a Game Pass fan, because, well, it does appear that Jim Ryan and SIE proper are screwed. They have overplayed their hand. They have taken their market leadership and have turned it into complete arrogance. And that arrogance, especially from Jim Ryan himself, who said at the EU Commission behind the doors or behind closed doors meeting, we don't want a new Call of Duty deal. We just want to block your merger. I said it from the beginning, and I'm staying with it right now, even today. I think that doomed and sunk his ship. And we only know that thanks to Lulu Chang, who, of course, is the CCO of Activision Blizzard. And thanks to her, knowledge of the conversation and putting it out there, I think the regulators across the board realize that, yes, Sony is the market leader, and not by a little bit, by a lot, especially in the regions of this where the CMA is responsible for their consumers and the EU Commission. And it appears, folks, that the jig is up. And I cannot wait to get into it. We already, wow. I mean, we're 2 minutes and 3 seconds into the show, and we have nearly 200 people in the live chat. I cannot thank you enough for joining us this morning. We do have some guests that are going to be popping in periodically. For right now, I'm going to be playing some very salty, hardened Call of Duty footage from last year's COD, just for context, if you will. But we have a great panel here for you. Listen, let's get into, first of all, our guests. Infinite Umbra, you happen to come at a perfect time, and this is unbelievable breaking news. A lot of us have been holding our breaths, wondering whether or not the CMA was going to be the outlier for stopping the deal. And it appears that all of the PlayStation concern for market and harm has been removed off of the table. We're going to get into the actual CMA press release. But man, welcome to the show, brother. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, Boom. I'm feeling even better now seeing this news today. I know.
Well, you're the greedy gamer, so of course you're feeling good.
Absolutely. Feed me more.
Yes.
So yeah, it's great news to me. I mean, this is the day. It's not the day, but it's coming down to that day where we all knew it was going to come to, where it's going to be approved. They didn't really have an argument. They knew it. And once Microsoft started making those chess moves and getting these other streaming companies in line, it was like that was it. There was nothing else they can argue about. Cloud. They're talking now about provisions and concessions, but Microsoft already turned in that things they're willing to do for that as well. So this is a done deal as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I know most of us already know it. That it's good to finally have some closure to it. It feels like I know the biggest elephant in the room still is the FTC, but
they're scrambling right now. They're literally scrambling right now because Lena Khan, who is the chairperson, and like I said, look, I don't know her. I can say that she has an ideology that I respect. She wants to protect consumers. She does not want big corporations like the Amazons and the Microsofts and the Googles and the Apples to run rampant and bend us over a barrel as consumers. And I respect that. Where I have a problem, and this is because I come from a law enforcement background, is law is written for a reason. And I don't care whether or not you wear the shield or you don't. When you break the law, you break the law, and you must pay. Consequences must be had. So I'm all about rule of law. I'm not talking about bending rules to make things work for your narrative. It's really, for at least for me, it's very cut and dry. It's very black and white. Wrong, bad, good, good, right? So her ideology is great. She wants to protect people. She wants to be a front runner for protecting consumers. Though the way she's doing it is wrong, and she knows it. And being that this video gamers lawsuit was thrown out, literally laughed out of the courtroom. Well, folks, that entire case was based on the FTC's findings. So what does that say for the FTC? Right now, they are currently probably scrambling with this new CMA information, and we're going to get into it. But listen, Web Dave, how you feeling, brother? I could imagine that this Sunday's show, the new episode of the Gamers Council podcast with Retri from Game Pass _Daily is going to be quite spicy. You might need your Pepsi AC.
Oh, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. It is. I'm so looking forward to Sunday's show, and we're working on a guest if he's available, because he's actually at the conference right now. But he's working on. In fact, he may be a guest here today. But Hargeet is going to try and jump on our show on Sunday as well. If he's able to make it, then it's going to be legit. It's going to be just off the chains, and an episode you guys don't want to miss, because everybody's going to be able to get in on this conversation.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Hargeet Chani, thanks to the information from Infinite Umbra, wants to be a part of the show, even if it pops in for a hot minute. I sent him the link. We might get Hargeet for a bit, so I'm sure that he's probably laughing so hard he can't type on the computer. Because he's been saying this, Dave, you've been saying this literally from offset as our money guy on the panel, who is in the industry, who understands the de facto business behind the scenes kind of a conversation, that you said from the beginning that, yes, this deal is going to pass. Yes, it's going to have some hurdles, which it has, but ultimately it is going to pass. And here we are, folks. It appears that one of the big outliers for stopping the deal, the CMA, who we thought was going to, in fact, block the deal, has changed their stance. As a matter of fact, I'll read verbatim what they released in their press release. But the crispy bomb, once again, my goodness, you're here, and it's spicy talk. Obviously, you know about spice because you're a butcher, and you know how to drop down those 20 ounces. How you feeling, brother? Good morning.
Oh man, boom. Chat, what is up? We might have to invent a new pepper. Smoking Ed Curry, you got to get on this now, because the spice meter is through the roof. And the only reason why I'm so happy, and I'm going to leave it right like this right now,
You muted.
Mute button. You were so excited.
Jim Ryan had enough. He was like, that's enough. Cut his mic.
Oh,
Crispy,
yeah. Well, listen, Crispy, I don't know whether you know if you're muted or not, but you are muted. We got to get you back in a hot second. Maybe something happened with his computer. I don't know. Listen, we'll get Crispy back, and we'll let him finish his point. Fuzzy.
Conspiracy.
If the panel starts breaking off,
okay,
then there he is. Hey, Crispy.
It was like, no, you're not going to say this.
I love it.
All right, snipers, you got me. All right. Logic has won today. That's what I was saying. So
I love it. Yeah.
That is a beautiful thing, because we all said it. It just makes no sense to continue this illogical fight. And finally, the CMA, the one that we were most worried about, said enough's enough. We're done with this. So let's just get into it.
It's funny. So if you're asking, I am drinking from my celebratory Xbox Factor mug, and you can get that on Teespring, folks. And guess what? It tastes delicious. Let me take another sip live on the air for you.
Do you have some of our Hooved Brother tears in there?
You know what? It was filled to the top, a little bit salty for my taste personally, so I added a bit of sugar, and it tastes better. It was quite tasty.
The old saying, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
Yeah, indeed it does. Fuzzy Belvedere, what's going on, brother? The salty meter for you is going to be turned up to 11 today. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Like it's so fun watching how the squeaky wheel definitely got the attention that they wanted. Well, they got attention, maybe not the attention they wanted, but CMA, they're best pals, they're best buds, turncoats, I guess. I don't know, but awesome to see that this thing is moving forward. I can't wait until we get that announcement. Seems like everything is wrapping up in time for E3. So
yeah,
man, this is going to be an awesome E3 with that announcement. But
well, I got news for you. First of all, what really I think sets this whole conversation that we're going to spend the next 2 hours talking about was something that Destin Legary. Now, obviously, Destin has exploded on the scene with his YouTube channel. Shout out to him. He crossed 100,000 subs in almost unbelievable record time. I would say as fast or equally as fast as like Hoglaw. Now, these are two guys that I really enjoy listening to. Like I said, I've been a fan of Destin for a while. Like I said, sometimes I don't agree with his opinions. And like I said, I prefer the Destin away from IGN. I'm just going to say it. I like what he does on his channel. I like his setup. I like his delivery, which is why I'm one of his subscribers. When he puts out a new video, I stop what I'm doing and I watch. Well, he put out something yesterday that originally, when I wrote this show, this was what it was going to be about. And apparently, and I want to read because I know where everyone in the chat now, we know where we're here. We know how we got here. But I kind of want to just lead up for and break down what happened in the last 24 hours because it's actually quite shocking. And Destin put out a tweet yesterday and he said Sony has been lobbying in Washington, D.C. against the Activision deal. Seems like they got some attention, maybe not the attention or the kind of attention they wanted. Now, this is where it gets pretty interesting. According to the report that he put out there, Senator Maria Cantwell, who is a Democrat in Washington, D.C., criticized Sony's Interactive Entertainment's monopoly control of the high-end gaming market during the hearing Thursday and called on U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai to press Japan on the issue for ongoing trade talks. Now, what she's talking about is Japan has apparently said they were going to block the deal. It's pretty crazy that they would block the deal considering that Microsoft has only 2% of the market share in Japan to Sony's 98%, because obviously Nintendo doesn't count according to all of these regulators. Well, folks, Senator Maria Cantwell said this: I'm told that Sony controls a monopoly of 98% of the high-end gaming market, yet Japan's government has allowed Sony to engage in blatant anti-competitive conduct through exclusive deals and payments to game publishers. She said this to the Senate Finance Committee yesterday during the hearing, and that's again, it's quite shocking. So, what are we talking about today? Well, okay, we have several things to talk about. Lulu Chang is out on these Twitter streets as she's known. She put out a tweet this morning, and this is what it said, folks. The CMA's updated provisional findings show an improved understanding of the console gaming market and demonstrate a commitment to supporting players and competition. Sony's campaign to protect its dominance by blocking a merger can't overcome the facts. But then she continues, folks. She says this, and Microsoft has already presented effective and enforceable remedies to address each of the CMA's remaining concerns. We know this deal will benefit competition, innovation, and consumers in the UK. Now, this is coming off of a Tom Warren story. Shout out to Tom Warren if he's in the chat. And he put this out. Breaking news. The UK CMA has provisionally concluded that Microsoft's Activision Blizzard deal, and end quote, will not result in a substantial lessening of competition in console gaming market or services, because Microsoft is unlikely to withhold Call of Duty from PlayStation. Dagger in the heart is all I can say. Mm-hmm. That is, let me just say this, folks. This is one of those moments that as a kid who went to the movies to see it, and you hear, Megatron say, "It's over, Prime." And Prime gets up and whoops his ass cowboy style. That's exactly what just happened now.
One shall stand, one shall fall.
Yeah, there you go. And Megatron fell, and that Megatron is Sony, and they have fallen. And folks, I'm here to tell you, expect the announcement next week that PlayStation has signed a 10-year deal. And then we will get into it then. I want to go first to Umbra on this. Umbra, look, what can I say other than read the bylines? And the bylines, and I don't like to curse, folks, so I won't curse. How I read it, Sony is effed. They overplayed their hands. Their arrogance has come back to hurt them. Jim Ryan's arrogance has come back to hurt him. The numbers, the pure numbers that we have been talking about for weeks and months, all made sense then, and now it seems to have come to a raging conclusion. Let's talk about it, brother.
Yeah. I mean, it's all come to this conclusion now. And this is the CMA. I'm wondering, though, Boom, before I go into it, just how it's going to play out with the EU, right? And I know they're probably in the same boat as the CMA when it comes to this, more than likely, because they have to see the writing on the wall as well.
Well, they already said it's rumored that they're going to pass it. The only thing that they took Sony off the table.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's funny right there when you see Sony now, outplayed their hand. Now, everybody is looking at them, and now the CMA and the EU and obviously the FTC, despite their protest, knows that Sony is not in any jeopardy of losing anything serious. What I find most funny about all of this is not only the backfiring of it to Sony and how it's going to play out there, but I'm wondering how it's going to play out for future acquisitions, because, me being the greedy man I'm wondering now, because of how they have so many shining endorsements from all these other companies stepping forward, saying how they honor their deals and things of the nature, how it will play out when they try to go for, let's say, a Capcom or, a Square, just to, be petty to Sony or something like that. So that's my thing for this. But just to say, yeah, this is it's crazy news to wake up to, or at least come into today. And Microsoft now is just working with them to, I guess, find any outstanding supposed concerns. But there are no concerns. They know it's over with. The thing is done. I mean, that's all they're saying, basically, all but saying it's done. It's over with. I mean, I don't know what else really there is to argue about on it, to being honest. I mean, the only thing we could do is here take our little victory lap. I wish I had me a cup of tears too to drink, but I'll
drink for you, brother. Here you go. Look, here you go. Tasty tears.
There you go. Add some coloring to that. Yeah.
There you go.
But no, it's like I said, it's interesting to see. I did see Lulu's tweets as well, and how she more or less rubbing it in their faces and stuff like that. It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say except to say, yeah, I'm glad to finally see some things come to an end when it comes to this whole situation. That's the best thing I can say. We've had enough, consternation from our hooved brothers online. It's time for them to go back to their stables and us to get back on these games. And with ABK under the belt of Microsoft now, I'm waiting for that day.
Well, look, there's going to be some questions, Umbra. And I've been asked this, and there's been some. Again, we don't name names here, folks, because it's not necessary to do. If you want to go out and you want to find who's being an a-hole, you can easily go find them. I'm not going to send you to them because I don't want lynch mobs being attached to me saying, "Hey, Boom sent me." I won't do that. Again, I said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't subscribe to bullying, even if I don't agree with your opinion. Even if you are, diehard Sony fan, you're entitled to your opinion. Now, there are some that take it to another extreme that try to insult people, which I'm not a big fan of either. But I will say this: what I've been asked by people that have opposed this deal is, what are you getting, Boom? Why does it matter so much to you? And because I'm a transparent kind of a guy, and because I'm clear as glass, I don't mind telling you my life story. That's what I'm here to do, right? I'm here to entertain you and also try to bring some truth to it. I'm a retired guy, and even though my retirement is fantastic, I have great pension. I have medical coverage for me and my wife, dental, vision. It's awesome. I worked real hard to get that. 21 years of risking my life, and I was able to cross the finish line. Not a lot of guys can say that. I did it. So because I was able to do it, I can do now podcasting as full-time, like just entertainment. It matters to me because unlike Nintendo and unlike PlayStation, I understand Microsoft is a corporation, but the way it's run by Phil Spencer, the way he runs Xbox, is he respects my time and he respects my dollar. So when I pay $15 a month, they don't just stop at X game amount in Game Pass, be happy what you got. They're consistently making these deals, spending I think the report is they've spent over $1 billion on getting games into Xbox Game Pass. That benefits me. So this deal, even though I don't get a cent of it, benefits me as a consumer. And unlike Sony, who does not respect their consumer, who consistently goes out of their way to bend us over a barrel. And I say that's because I have a PlayStation 5. I have 2 controls. I have a camera. I have the charging dock. I have 30 first-party games. So I'm in the bag. That's why. But listen, I want to bring in...
You hit it all on the head.
Yeah.
Just to say this last part, that's really what it comes down to. If anybody's really seriously asking, what do you get from it? I don't know if they're really gamers. Like, what are you paying attention
I agree.
to? Yeah, it's pretty obvious. We get all these games since Game Pass day and date. That's all. That's all you need. What else would you argue for?
What's interesting, and I've said this before, and people they chalk it up as me just being snarky. Because I don't have to buy Microsoft first-party games because they're in there, and then they have, like, for instance, like for Redfall, they had the additional content that you could buy for $35. The minute that went up, I bought it. I didn't even think twice about it because I didn't have to buy the game. I bought the $35 content. It gives me the season pass, all the weapon skins, you name it, whatever. I'm in the bag. What this does for me as a consumer whose pension is good, it's really good, folks, but it has a ceiling, especially nowadays where everything is so expensive. I don't have to think twice about going and buying a controller that I want. Right? I just literally just came in. This is a $70 controller. Do I need it? No. Do I want it? Heck yeah, because it's a GameCube controller that doubles as a controller, and I can take it off and slide it onto the sides of the Switch, and I'm playing Smash, and it's amazing. That's what Game Pass allows me to do. I wish Sony would adopt that. I wish Nintendo would adopt that, so I would pay $60, $70 a year, even $120 a year, which I just paid Sony, as a matter of fact, for their service. So I'm a gamer, but the one company, the one platform that respects not only my time, but my financial station is Microsoft. That's why I want this deal to go through. But listen, I do want to bring in Crispy Bomb into the conversation. I want to read the press release directly from the CMA. It's gov.uk. This is the official release for the information we're going to talk about on today's show. It says the CMA narrows scope of its concerns for Microsoft's Activision, Microsoft Activision review. And it says this, folks. The CMA has today issued an updated provisional findings in its assessment of Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision. And it says it has a couple bullet points here that I read for you. It says new evidence provisionally alleviates concerns in relation to supplying to supply of gaming consoles in the UK. Provisionally stated a provisional view that the deal raises concerns in cloud gaming is unaffected, which they're still looking into what cloud gaming is going to do. But because Microsoft is signing every deal possible, and Brad Smith, he said it this week, folks. He was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal. He said that outside of the cloud deals that we have already signed, more are currently under, or they're working under contract with several people. He didn't say who. That's going to be released next week, and we know that. And I hold on for a second, because context is all about the business. Let me find where I sent myself some stuff. Hold on just a sec here. Now, the reason why you can expect next week to be huge for Microsoft, or specifically Xbox, is thanks to Frank X. Shaw. Now, who is Frank X. Shaw on Twitter? Well, folks, he is currently the lead communications for Microsoft. And he put out a tweet this morning, and he said this: hate to break it to the reporters who cover Microsoft, who are a bit tired after the last 2 weeks, but next week is coming, and we're not slowing down. Okay, I'm in the bag. Crispy, this is pretty damning. I don't think we could have asked for a show this big on a Friday morning to start our weekend, but it appears that this deal is all but done, and Sony has to now figure out what they're going to do, because we have all been talking about it. You have been very vocal about it. The pure arrogance and bully-like tactics that Sony continues to conduct themselves in is sickening. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. It's sickening. And it seemed as if they were going to get their way to block this deal, when every other publisher and developer were like, yeah, it's just business. It's not that big of a deal. This scorched earth mentality that they took to gaming is going to bite them in the ass. What are your thoughts?
Like, you see something and you're like, is this really happening? Like with the Redfall, like, dude, I am super excited for that. You look at, how everything's transpired, how the U.S. government actually spoke up this time. Like the actual government, like actual representatives said, enough's enough. We're tired of this. And it really comes down to Japan saying, no, we're not gonna allow this to go through in our government. And we have, every, fiscal year they have a trade talk and they sign certain things. And, for a Democrat representative to speak up in that, I mean, when I saw that last night, what did I do? I said something's about to come out. And then we wake up this morning and the CMA is like, nah, we're not going to look bad like that. You know what I mean? Because it just doesn't make sense. The numbers are there. Yeah. If you look at the numbers, if you've already, the regulators themselves have already made the numbers relevant, because they took out Nintendo, and we've all talked about this. Yeah. And it's mind blowing that, we're waiting for it. I'm waiting for, PlayStation fans, which I mean, they're really fanboys if they're going to go crazy about this. I'm waiting for them to have their meltdowns, because the Redfall thing was just hilarious. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, like this has been talked about for over 2 years now. Like, come on, you know what I mean? Like,
that's ridiculous. Yep.
So this deal, like, we look at it and we say, like, and I'm not a huge Call of Duty fan, but if I have the price of $15 a month to play the game, I'm probably going to try it out. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things, like, they're not taking anything away as of now. Anything that's already.
They sniped him again, ladies and gentlemen.
Boy, didn't I tell you to take him out?
Dude, I swear to God, this thing's messing with me, dude.
You just got sniped again. Jim Ryan said, no, don't let that man speak.
Hey, Crispy, earlier Nick said you got a Sony headset.
I love it. That is hilarious.
No,
man.
Like, literally the program is muting me. Dude, I'm not even playing with you. Like, all of a sudden, it just this pop-up happens and it mutes me. I'm not clicking anything.
You're not on a Sony Bravia or anything, right? Because
no, I'm on a Surface.
Like you're botting, by the way. So
Microsoft's shutting me up, maybe.
No, we'll get the announcement later. PlayStation has acquired StreamYard.
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
Oh no!
But see, now I lost my train of thought. But you really look at it, and I mean, it's a win for, logical thinkers.
Yes,
not these people that go crazy. People that actually look at the market, look at how the regulators are looking at it. Many of us have said, like, if it doesn't go through, then we feel like there's some kind of collusion or corruption. And I think, at the end of the day, Jim put his foot in his mouth when he said what he said. And I think the CMA said we can't defend this anymore. And it's just logical. Like, like I get you have a huge market share. I get that, they could lobby or do whatever they want to call it in those regions. But, we have to look at the rule of law, and you have to look at, how the regulator established this market. And I think that's why they changed it. Because, like we've been seeing, some people are saying like this is not usual for the CMA to do. And I think that's important. And also, like, I mean, that's probably, what Shaw said is pretty salty from a Microsoft executive. So, I mean, something's coming next week. I don't know, maybe it's got some gaming related, because, maybe we could start moving on from this thing a little bit. You know what I mean? And maybe there's a lot of, agreements, but also there's something, maybe interesting. And it that is about gaming, and we could stop really like, enveloping in this and move on a little bit and until it actually finalizes. Because at this point, with this happening, all you have to say is, I mean, how is the FTC going to stop it? I mean, like you said, they're probably like, oh no, like we went, because they went so opposite, and now like, these other regulators are like, nah, like this is not logical. And now the FTC sitting there like, well, we didn't mean it. Like, we're gonna just get some kind of press release. Watch. So I'm waiting for it. But yeah, I mean, we got a lot more to talk about than just this.
Oh yeah, we do. But listen, before I get into bring Fuzzy into the conversation, let me catch some super chats. It's been a lot of them, and I honestly, I'm just always blown away by how generous the people are. Raiden Blade, who's been a channel member for over a year, drops a very generous £2 super chat and says, "Where is King? We need him on the show." Yeah, you know where King is? He's in Boston right now with the Iron Lords covering PAX East. Which I'm going to probably go to next year. I've been to 4, and it's one of my favorite shows. I've only been to one E3, so I can't really compare it. But one of the things that I like about PAX is that it's a fan show, and you get like right in on these executives, and you get to just hang out with them and talk with them. It's fantastic. I've never been there in a professional manner, as if I would be going representing Double Barrel Gaming. I've only been there as a fan. Next year, I'm probably going to end up going with the Iron Lords, because that was I always drove to Boston from New York. It's 3 hours, and it's not a problem. They take the train, which is pretty cool. But listen, folks, we're closing in on 700 people, which is bonkers amazing. I ask that if you are now finding the channel for the first time, you please consider not only hitting the subscribe button, but while you're here, hit the like button. My wife and I run the channel. We hit 12K last Wednesday live on the air, which is pretty amazing. We've been doing YouTube for just a bit over 5 years, and we produce shows 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. All great content, no hate-driven stuff. We don't use that for clicks or likes, and to see just for numbers, I got to put it out there. It's just I'm serious. We have amassed 4+ million views in 5 years. That's a lot of views. I was actually quite shocked until I was notified by YouTube. Hey, listen, you hit 4 million. Oh, what? Really? Wow. Okay, so that's awesome. So if you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing. But let me get back to the super chats. Scott Woodford drops a very generous $2 super chat, and he simply says, "Happy Friday." Scott, happy Friday indeed. It's certainly going to be a good one. Nate Dog drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "What a bombshell. The new era of Xbox starts now." Indeed. Buck drops a very generous $5 super chat. And he says, Lillian Khan rushing to file a suit when she had January 23rd to perform due diligence was foolish. Waste of our taxpayer money. Lena Khan should be fired. I think she's probably going to be stepping down, but by the end of the year, only because she has lost a significant amount of cases. I think for her, the damning commentary is very similar to what Jim Ryan said, but not really what Jim said. She said something that was pretty arrogant, I thought, where she said, "We don't care if we lose in court. We'll just sue. Man, you can't say that because you're not paying for this. I mean, I'm an American citizen. I pay taxes every year, and I pay every year. Yeah. You can't just throw money to the wind. You can't be like that. And she said it, and I think that's going to wind up costing her position eventually.
Replace her with Maria Cantwell. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, listen.
So she's actually.
There's a reason.
With that dominance over there.
Well, there's certainly a reason, Umbra, why there is no current representation of the Republican Party at the FTC, because they both resigned. That's a problem, and that's why sometimes I'm embarrassed for this government. Just get it done, man. Figure it out. You guys are adults. Figure it out. Raiden Blade drops a very generous £5 super chat, and he's been a channel member for over a year. So thank you, Raiden Blade, for the additional super chat. And he goes on to say, imagine the FTC goes after SIE because their monopolistic behavior across the world, then the EU follows by CMA. What a can of worms SIE has opened on themselves. Fine, we're going to get into that, because I actually think an antitrust lawsuit might be happening specifically in this country against Sony. And especially once we learn what they've done in the background, because remember, we're still waiting on the documents that Sony has been ordered to provide, and we're going to get a peek behind the curtain of what these third-party contracts look like and what they're worded like. We've heard, folks, that there is anti-Xbox Game Pass writing in all of these contracts. If that's the case, I think Sony is in big trouble. I think that they might. This is one of those things that the don't cry wolf, because eventually you're just going to get eaten by the wolf. I think they just got eaten by the wolf. Again, we'll see. Buck drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Bend the knee, Sony. Sign the deal." Yes, that is going to happen. Voidlock drops a very generous. Oh no, first of all, he's been a channel member for 3 months. So Voidlock, thank you so much for that. He says, Diablo, Starfield, Hi-Fi Rush, Redfall, Call of Duty, all in 1 year. Xbox is going to run over 2007 by themselves. Crackdown, I love a new Crackdown. Hellblade is a possibility. Yeah, I would love a new Crackdown. I don't know about anyone else. I loved Crackdown 3. I don't care what anyone tells you. I loved it. And of course, it starred Terry Crews, one of my favorite actors. So yes, it was a win-win for me. Elemental PO. Oh, first of all, Jacob Novick drops a very generous, a $10 super chat. Thank you so much for that. And he doesn't even say anything. Jacob, thank you for that.
He goes, just wanted you to admire the new PFP he's using. That's all it is.
I will look at it in a second. That's awesome. Elemental PO, good friend of the program, who's been a channel member for over a year, says PR-wise, Sony is positioned in a bad light because of this move. Did Jim have to do it? Yes, he had to. Didn't the legal and PR team appreciate this? No, I don't think that they did. And I think that his statement really doomed him. Like, honestly, I think it really doomed him. But Gotham Guy dropped a very generous $10 super chat. And I met Gotham Guy at E3 in 2019. And he did something that I'm forever going to be grateful and thankful for. I didn't get into FanFest. I didn't get into the Xbox conference on my own. Double Barrel Gaming had like 3,100s or 3,200 subs. It was, I'm still small, but we're definitely better. And what he did for me, I'm always going to be grateful. At E3, in the house that we were staying in, the complex, I was standing there with Lord Cognito, and he DM'd me and said, "Hey, Boom, do you want to be my +1?" Because he got in. My friend blew out his shoulder, and he can't go. And I got to tell you, Microsoft PR was incredible. Xbox PR. He said, "Give me your information." I sent it over. They literally called me like 5 minutes later. "Yeah, we just need all your information." And I was in. So I'm always going to be grateful for that. Thank you for the generosity, brother. And thank you for always thinking about me. That was very kind of you. He goes on to say, "Good morning, Boom and friends. If this deal goes through in time for E3, will it be just a big announcement as an exclusive launch title? This Microsoft BBQ and it tastes really good. I think that if the deal goes through before E3, the big announcement, folks, is going to be Diablo 4
yes,
in Xbox Game Pass. As a matter of fact, I think that they're knowing Microsoft, because they always think months ahead. This news today, I think that the people at Blizzard are scrambling to put something together, because they're going to show. I mean, obviously the game is going to be out. I have a feeling that the announcement is going to come before E3, because remember, as I believe it launches on June 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, and E3 isn't until another week and some change later. So what they would have to do is have some sort of maybe they do a developers direct.
June 6th to be exact, Boom.
June. Okay, so it's June 6th, and then obviously the 11th through the 13th is when E3 is.
Right.
So what they would have to do in order to make this a big deal, and again, it would be smart if you're Microsoft PR, what you do is you take this information, you do a major developers direct with Blizzard about the game, you announce it into Xbox Game Pass, and you take all of that monster momentum and roll that right into the release of the game and E3. That's at least how I would do it.
Imagine, Boom, if, and you all in the chat, that the deal is done and we're all wondering, man, can they get Diablo in there? And then when their showcase comes in June, the last thing they show at the end of the showcase is and dropping into Game Pass is a shadow drop announcement, Diablo 4.
Man. Yeah. It would definitely be big. Again, it's one of those show-stopping news bombs. Now, again, granted, I've said this publicly. Don't boo me on my own show again, like I did the other day. Big Mad Mo, I'm looking at you. Mrs. Boom and I love these types of games. Loved Diablo 3. We're running through Baldur's Gate 2, not the PC version, the Interplay version from way back in the days. It's our 5th run. It's a great couples game. We love Mrs. Boom is a huge sorceress or sorcerer fan. She doesn't pick the girls, believe it or not. She picks the guys. It's crazy. And we love those games. We should have loved Diablo 4. We didn't. We played it for 3.5 hours. I have the footage. We got to level 8. And we both walked away and said, yeah, this is just not for us.
What class did you use, Bo?
I used the barbarian. She used the sorcerer.
That's probably why. I've heard barbarian is like the least liked
one. I you know what? I didn't dislike it as much as she did. She didn't dislike it. She thought it was very confusing. Oh. And it was like the screen is too filled. But we're going to give it another shot. Again, I did cancel my pre-order. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to buy a game that I'm not going to play, because I bought Diablo 2 and hated it. And I was like, well, I'm stuck with it. So
jump in, man. I'm jumping in after the show. I'm going to try to jump in. I'm using a rogue class. So
yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you mentioned that, because right now the beta is open to everyone. You didn't have to pre-order it. So yes, the Diablo 4 open beta is live right now. Go download it on your console of choice and give it the old college effort. We're gonna try it again. We're definitely gonna try it again. We will see. But Highlander 001 drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Morning Boom and panel. I want to know what this means for Sony. The price to acquire anyone just went up. Side note, Sony stock opened up on a loss and is going down. Microsoft stock is going up." That's right. I didn't know about Sony losing money this morning. I did see that Microsoft opened with a lot of gain. Sony's they're in the pickle. I'll say that. Your baby father drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Boom, I'm at work and usually catch this early show on my way home, but I had to pull up on my break. Give him hell, brother." Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here, brother, and thank you for the generosity as always. And last but not least, at least for now, because the generosity continues to come in, and we are incredibly grateful for this. So thank you so much. And if you want to know where the money goes, I have already spent almost 500 on the channel this last couple of months, because if you've noticed, all the channel is now refined. Everything looks the same. That's all thanks to Sean Labrie. He's helped me really build the channel and give it its unique look that you see here. Unfortunately, that costs money, and Sean he's very reasonable. So if you need something done, check out Sean Labrie on Twitter. He's amazing. His artwork is just bonkers. But for like these things, like all the art, that's 3 different artists. And this one, it comes the way of Ben Kenobi. This is one of my favorite designs. Ben Kenobi, the Richter, and Sean Labrie helped me build the merch that is out there for you to check out. And I'll drop the link in and play the commercial in a little bit. But ATL drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, would Jim Ryan get fired if Sony gets investigated, assuming that this was his strategy and not Sony corporate? That's an interesting theory and thought. I actually don't know where the ramifications go if he loses or Sony loses big. I mean, obviously he's the head of this, so the head usually gets chopped off first. I don't know, but listen,
I would say doubtful.
I would say doubtful as well. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Listen, Fuzzy, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, brother. I want to read an excerpt from Tom Warren, who posted this morning at 9 a.m. And his story is UK regulator sides with Microsoft over Call of Duty on PlayStation concerns. And I want to read it because it's damning. Tom Warren goes on to say, the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, has now sided with Microsoft over concerns the software giant could remove Call of Duty from PlayStation if its proposed Activision Blizzard deal is approved. The regulator still has concerns about the deal's impact on the cloud gaming market and will complete its investigation by the end of April. And this is a direct quote from Martin Coleman, chair of the independent panel of experts conducting the CMA's investigation. Fuzzy, this is what he had to say. Having considered the additional evidence provided, we have now provisionally concluded that the merger will not result in substantial lessening of competition in the console gaming service because the cost to Microsoft of withholding Call of Duty from PlayStation would outweigh any gains from taking such action. Wow, dude. That's all I have to say, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I think it's funny, just for the fact that, all this time Sony was, crying and complaining. Well, some people don't like them or using the term crying, but it is what it is. They were doing their damnedest to block this deal, and it's kind of all blown up back in their face type of thing. So I think the funny thing now is going to be, what do they do moving forward? And I posted a poll on Twitter, and I know, ponies are not going to want to participate in that poll, but it comes down to, well, what's next for Sony at this point? You've already showed your butt as far as, complaining about this deal. And do you now go back to business as usual before the ABK announcement, where you do showcases and start talking about sales numbers again, as opposed to trying to, play this meek mouse in the corner kind of thing? Like, oh, we're really not the, market leader. We're just these guys that make games, and Microsoft is the big bad guy taking away games kind of thing. So I think at this point, it's going to be funny to see what Jim does, as far as, or just Sony in general, if their strategy changes to go back to doing showcases and things, because they've been playing this quiet game for this past year and a half now.
Yeah.
And I don't think Jim gets fired at this point, unless, like, I think the thing that gets him fired is when they drop stock value like a ton. Like if they go below like $50 a share kind of thing, then I think that's when his job and his golden parachute might be closer at hand. But for the most part, it's just so funny that all this time, the gaming media and a lot of these, YouTubers were all about blocking this deal because, oh, it's bad for gaming. And, the CMA will see what's right and do what's right. And yeah, they're doing what's right. They're moving on to just focusing on cloud because that's that big unknown, let's say. Considering where Sony stands in the console market, they were never at risk of really being in danger or in threat of foreclosure, except for if they decide to, scuttle their own ship kind of thing. So I think moving forward, Sony just needs to focus on being Sony again, as opposed to focusing on blocking this deal. And I'm glad that, these governing bodies or regulators are starting to see, the forest for the trees per se kind of thing. But yeah, it's great moving forward. Hopefully we get this announcement, between now and E3. And, I'm just trying to figure out what these gaming media hit pieces are going to be about. If it's going to be about controller batteries or Series S potato, or if it's going to be, hands-off studio stuff. I don't know. It seems like they keep on going back in circles, and the ABK was always that long drawn-out one that they were kind of rooting that would get blocked, and now it looks like that's off the table. So I'm curious what the journalists are going to talk about these days now, if they have anything else to
Microsoft bought off these pundits, these lobbyists.
Well, I'm sure that's going to be the next thing.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, look, I said it from the beginning, guys. Like I said, I'm not getting on a high horse here or a pedestal. I'm all about the rule of law. I've said that numerous times on many shows. In fact, I even said it today earlier. Mm-hmm. The law it was written for a reason. Now, are some laws perceived wrong? Sure. Can some laws be changed for the betterment of the people? They absolutely should. A situation like this, it's hard to argue. Like I said, if you disagree with Boom, let's have a conversation. We don't got to call names. I don't have to be right. I'm wrong a lot, and I'm okay with that. When I get it wrong, I get out here like a man, and I tell you that I got it wrong, because that's what a real man does. But it's hard to argue numbers. You can have opinions about anything, but the numbers don't lie. And the numbers have been from offset in Microsoft's favor for a multitude of reasons. Now, Microsoft is in the position that they're in because they made very poor decisions going back to 2013. Okay, leadership was not good. People running that were in charge of making Xbox great didn't care to do so, and they suffered for it. Okay, now a lot of things they did in 2013, like DRM and things like that, that is the norm now. Microsoft was a bit ahead of the curve, but the two talking heads there were not doing the job that they were supposed to do. They did not do the job that Phil Spencer has done. And it's now we're at a position where Microsoft had the opportunity to educate the EU and the CMA, and now they have sided with Microsoft. And we all knew this. We, as gamers, as people that really do look at the bylines and the finite points of gaming, because we're podcasters, we're content creators, we all knew Sony had a monster grasp on the industry. And they have that, folks. Let's not make a mistake here. I take nothing away from what Sony has done. You may not like them, and I incredibly dislike SIE. I like PlayStation. I just don't like Sony because of this kind of BS tactics that they use. But they make good hardware. PlayStation 5 is a really good machine. Whether you like it or you don't, I really, really like my PlayStation 5 controller. I like the haptic trigger. I like the stupid speaker in the controller. I know a lot of people don't. I like that.
You're not going to be blowing into that controller, are you?
No, I'm not going to be blowing into the controller, but I did talk with my godson when we were playing Fortnite, and it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool because, I'm an old man. I was playing with Fortnite, and, he was doing all the killing. I just was kind of just tagging along. That's just what I do. But the numbers, Dave, I got to go to you because you are our numbers guy, and you have been from the onset all about this deal passing for a multitude of reasons. Let's talk about it. It, again, just based on Tom Warren's article, based on the CMA's press release, being on the response from Lulu Chang of Activision Blizzard, it appears the deal is going to get done. Everything. Now, again, remember, they're not out of the water. Cloud is still a concern. They're still investigating the cloud. They have until April 26th. That's when they're going to come and bring their findings to the world. They're probably going to go first. Then after in May, the EU Commission is going to go. And maybe before then, the FTC says, we're just going to take it and we're going to drop the lawsuit. And it's going to get passed. My question to you is, at this point, when do you think we're going to see a giant press blowout from Microsoft? So PlayStation's Jim Ryan signs deal, because that's what's going to happen. You know, they're going to flash that on every screen possible. Sony signed the deal. Do you think that's next week?
I mean, it could be. It really could be. So like when I retweeted your post this morning, I put 1 down, 2 to go. So
yeah,
and out of the big 3, there is, you know, it really looks like they've pretty much cleared the path. And because Microsoft has already presented a really good case of what they will do for concessions, as it were, or resolutions, as it were, and I believe that they will that this is going to be basically an acceptance, and that part, the CMA's part, will be done, and it'll just be the final 2 to go through. But those others should pretty much fall in place once that happens. The other concern, which a lot of people have brought up, and I know there's a couple articles and a couple of people have mentioned it in chat. The Japanese Trade Commission hasn't officially, they haven't officially blocked it yet. They've made a case for the blocking, but it's still technically pending. It hasn't been final.
No, it's not officially blocked, but they have said that they want to block the deal.
But with that said, this new, the Congresswoman stepping up saying, we need to look into these practices that in Japan with Sony dominating the market for high-end gaming consoles. I believe that is also going to weigh. I mean, the Japanese government might just go to Sony and say, you guys need to finish this off so we don't get any other, crap. I mean, it really could actually, have a meeting with the board of directors of Sony in Japan and say, let's fix this. Let's solve this, because, the American market is big for Japan, very big, and they don't want to have any kind of sanctions or any kind of restrictions put on them as a government. I'm not saying that they would, but when we're in trade negotiations, that is definitely something that could happen. And I guarantee if they feel like a couple of bones our way will help, that is definitely a possibility. Now,
sure would be a shame for America to have to come and give them some freedom.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. All right, that was pretty funny, but I don't speak from a standpoint of inside knowledge or anything like that. I'm just saying that all of this is happening at the same time. This report for the Congresswoman came up yesterday because of the trade negotiations that are going on right now. So if that's happening, and then CMA's results saying that they pretty much they're going to work on the cloud, they didn't feel like there was any problems with the quote unquote console distribution, then that pretty much I think sums it up. There's a lot of things going to happen in the next few days. Could it all compel? I mean, could Monday's show Boom be all about the Sony Benzini? Who knows? It could be.
It could very well be. Yes, I'll be. Trust me, I'm getting up super early on Monday just to be ahead of the curve.
There you go. Well, I'll be ready to jump in early if we need to. So
the CMA for today stands for Cry More A-holes. That's what it stands for today.
Oh boy, I love it.
Goodness.
I love the salty.
I'm going to put on the tinfoil headery of
Let me take another sip of this live. Here you go.
There you go. Drink it up.
Boom. I also got a shout out. There's so many great people in the chat today, and some great opinions in the chat. I mean, and you've got a lot of actual panel members former and present, that are hanging out in the chat with us today too. So it's welcome to everybody that's there. And
well, listen,
thank you
let
so
me
much.
say this. First of all, I'm trying to do like 3 things. I have all the articles pulled up. I'm going back and forth. So if I missed you, if you've worked with me before, you want to come on for a hot 5 minutes, you got 5 minutes to spare because we're still waiting for Hargeet to show up. Dreadpool is I think Dreadpool got stuck at work, so I don't know if he's going to be able to make it. DM me and I'll look at it and I'll send the link.
I know like Kay Asante was in the chat. There's the Wandering Dutch was in the chat. There's even Mr. Joanna Dark was in the chat. There's a whole bunch of great ones in there. John Wolf is in the chat. So shout out to all those.
I wish
great
Hogue
people.
was around right now to jump in.
Yeah, Hogue actually made some comments and some tweets. So I put those in the DMs for you there.
He actually, I'll read it live on the air. Pong Soul, shout out to Pong, good brother of mine. He actually just put this out there. Benji Sales, and Benji's great dude to this community. I love Benji Sales. Hopefully we can get him back. You know, he's having some personal life stuff he's got going on. He's still out here on these Twitter streets. Shout out to Benji Sales. Love you, brother. He says the deal is basically done. There are still concerns over cloud, but Microsoft has made moves to address that as well. CMA was the most difficult hurdle to pass, and it looks like that's not far off now. Activision Blizzard acquisition will close by June, in my opinion. And Richard Hogue, or Hogue Law, Brother Hogue, says, I probably wouldn't close over a pending FTC action, especially one with such a close hearing date, but it's possible that it could be disposed of by then. FTC is heading for another bad day. So there you go, folks. Benji Sales, someone I trust. Richard Hogue, someone I trust. Listen, this is a done deal. This is definitely a done deal. But listen, I want to continue with you, Dave, only because, like I said, you have been really solid on this deal. From Offset. At this point, what I'm interested to get from everyone's opinion, I'm going to come and I'm going to roles reverse it, because this is where I kind of wonder what's going to happen. Now, I've said from the beginning, Sony has taken a scorched earth mentality. Burn everything. We don't care. We're the market leader. But I think, Dave, there are consequences for that. Now, I say this. I'm not in the business. I don't get a lot of money for doing YouTube. YouTube takes 30% right off the top, folks. So I'm not in Microsoft's pocket. I'm talking as a fan. Dave, my question to you is this. For what seems like years, gaming business acquisitions and deals of companies, developers, publishers has been standard fare business for decades, right? Sony has been at the cusp of buying some really big studios, like Insomniac Games, for instance, like Bungie, like several of their purchases from last year. They purchased 8 different studios, including Bungie, for $3.6 billion last year, and it was fine.
Hey, Boom.
But you see, when they did this tattletale kind of
Boom. Yeah, Hargeet just jumped in. He's back.
Oh, okay. Let me get to it, because I'm reading something else. Okay, Hargeet, is he smiling? He's smiling. If Hargeet's smiling, then it's a good day. First of all, let me just stop this footage for a hot second, because we have a lot of people here, and I'm going to bring up the brand, and I'm going to let's see where I can get us. How many people we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we got 6 people here. Let's bring everybody in. There we go. Everyone is here. Okay, so listen, folks. Sorry that I had to stop the footage, because obviously we're going to get a couple more people. I'm sending the link out because I want to get everyone's opinion. Hargeet, I will get to you in a second, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. I can see the smile through the beard. You were talking about this on Wednesday. Here we are, 2 days later. It appears the deal is done. We're going to get your hot take opinion. But Dave.
Yes, sir.
My question is, what are the consequences for Sony? Because as the industry leader, and again, folks, this is just me spitballing. there is a certain responsibility you have to have to uphold certain principles. I say that from a small podcaster, that I hold myself to a ridiculous level of integrity, and I hold myself to a ridiculous level of putting on a show that doesn't embarrass myself or put other people in an embarrassing kind of a situation. I really put a lot of pressure on myself to deliver. Sony did something well, I don't want to say uncharacteristic, but they did something that has never been done before, where they have now opened Pandora's box for regulators around the world to look at the industry now. And almost every deal that is going to get done moving forward is going to be scrutinized and held up by these regulators. Now, I'm sure some people will say, boom, that's a good thing. We can't have all these companies running rampant. And I would agree with you. But gaming, gaming it's business, but it's not like some of the other businesses like pharmaceuticals, where they're charging you $1,000 for one injection for your cancer drugs. And now you don't have the money, so you're just going to die. That can't be allowed. But this is video games we're talking about. Dave, what are the consequences?
Well, the big consequence will be that they'll be closing the gap on the market share to Sony. They by this deal, once it actually gets through, Sony won't be able to, I guess, claim Call of Duty as their property, because basically that's what they try and do now. And it's going to have a lot greater avenue to reach out to. Now, it's not going to go in Game Pass right away, the new Call of Duty. That's just not going to happen. Their deal is up at 2024, I believe.
Yes,
at the earliest.
Next fall is the end of the deal. Correct.
But that doesn't mean there won't be a lot of great games coming from Activision, Blizzard, and King that are be coming in, to Game Pass and to and on the platform, and now with the digital, the cloud gaming. Once those contracts are signed and done, and Microsoft owns them, then they're gonna. I mean, right now the contracts read I guess your obligation when you purchase the game, it doesn't allow for them to be a stream type game, and Microsoft is going to have to they'll rewrite those and present those and basically let that go now, because to let those available on all these other platforms. So that is huge, absolutely huge. I mean, it is. You look at his. I love seeing Hargeet's face. I love it. No, I'm so glad you're here today, buddy. It is. I can tell he's got a lot to say, so I'll make mine quick. But it really is going to help balance the field. Sony's not going anywhere. Sony's not dead. Sony's not a rope against the wall, last man swinging. They are not. They just are going to have to work a lot harder, which, by the way, is really good for gamers as a whole, because if they're going to actually get in there and get to work and really start making some changes and actually, developing more games and stuff, it's gonna actually help us all, because it's gonna make gaming better. It's gonna make all of this better. They just right now, it's easy money for them, and everybody likes easy money. If you can sit back and just make money all day without really having to do much, that'd be the best job to have. But unfortunately, sometimes you got to, pull up the sleeves and get to work. And that's really what Sony's going to have to do if they want to try and maintain their market dominance. But the big thing is their dominance is not going to be as big as it was. And maybe eventually, market share is going to be spread out, maybe even a little better, more even, or we may eventually, not anytime soon, get a new leader, depending on how things go and who is actually on pace to be in the lead for gaming of the future. And right now, Microsoft has their eye on the prize, and they are working hard to be ready for everything that could be coming at the future of gaming. It's a very exciting time to be in gaming. Like I said, it's one down, two to go. and it's not exactly done yet, but this definitely really seems to be putting the nail in the coffin for the CMA's part. But that's what I got to say, man. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. No, I mean, good stuff. Listen, Hargeet, before I bring you on the conversation, I got to catch up on the super chats. First of all, Black Ronin 357 drops a very generous $5 super chat. I wonder what happens if Japan's full-on blocks the deal when all other countries have accepted it. Would it matter if Xbox is no longer sold in Japan? Probably not. I think their market share is so small there, and it wouldn't be it wouldn't be all of Xbox. It would be just Activision Blizzard content wouldn't be there. Oh, we got Dreadpool in here now. Let me just change the to 7 people. Dreadpool, welcome, brother. We'll get to you in a hot second. Let me get to the private chat because I'm going to catch up on the super chats. Let's see. Awful Grim Bones, who's been a channel member for 6 months, drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Good morning, Boom and panel. The show is fire." Thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate you being here, and thank you for the generosity. I like this name, Dr. J _ Dr. H 88. And if you don't know what the doctor is, that's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I love that. That is phenomenal. He drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Sony made a fuse just to come up short, wasting everyone's time. In terms, Sony had a great crossover only to miss the one shot. All of that build up for nothing. The move didn't count if you can't score." And yeah, I think it blew up in their face. Honestly, I think today's information, I will tell you this right now, Jim is calling Phil Spencer. The minute this came out, and Jim obviously is from the UK, where he made all his money. And he again, take nothing away from what Jim Ryan did for Sony. It was 6-1 during the PlayStation 4 generation. He did what he had to do. He made a lot of money for them. His antics, his false narratives blew up in his face today. Libra X drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Sony is sad to announce that due to the recent acquisition of Dog Pounds, all FTC subpoena documents have unfortunately been eaten." I love it. That is good stuff. Raiden Blade drops an additional £2 super chat and says, "Imagine the smiles on ABK staff bigger than Hargeet's." Probably because they realize that they're no longer going to be under the devil. Hargeet, listen, brother, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us for a few minutes or however long you have. This is monster news. We kind of knew that we were, well, I'll say this. I don't want to say new, because I would be lying if I did not say that there were some days I woke up and I was like, damn, this doesn't look good. I'm concerned. But today is the straw that broke the camel's back for Sony. This information, when the way it was painted, Hargeet, and the way we've been talking about on it with primetime gaming for the last couple of weeks and even months, has been Sony at the forefront, banging this drum, going to regulators. We heard from Destin Legary yesterday that they were in Washington, DC, lobbying against the deal, and they kind of got called to the carpet by a Democratic senator there, and maybe, them making all this noise has maybe pointed the spotlight onto them. We might see an FTC investigation, because ultimately, folks, the FTC is going to be embarrassed again. And if you look at a lot of things that they wrote, it was almost verbatim to what Sony wrote. And we learned the other day, Hargeet, that the gamers lawsuit got thrown out of court and literally laughed out of court. And everything that the gamers lawsuit used was verbatim to what the FTC used. So just imagine if you're Lena Khan, you're like, oh man, this is loss number 8 or 9. I lost count at this point. And again, her ideology is sound. She wants to protect consumers. I appreciate and respect the H out of that. But the rule of law that's not being used is a problem. And that is where we're at with the FTC. I would imagine that next week, and I'm saying this right now live on the air, the FTC is going to pull their lawsuit. This is going to go nowhere. They're going to pull it because at this point they didn't have a case before the CMA. They have even a less case with the EU and the CMA because they talk. And they all and they're like, listen, we're going to pass the deal. We have all these concessions for cloud. You should probably do the same. Hargeet, let's talk about it, brother. Breaking news. The CMA removes all of the Sony console harming talk from their investigation. Sony's got to be scrambling right now, brother. Look at that smile. Let's talk about it. Oh, you're on mute.
They're sniping him.
The Sony's sniping you. They sniped Crispy a couple of times. Got to get you on,
dude.
here.
I mute on my. I'm
Can you hear me?
on my.
Yeah, now we can hear you, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, I loved reading this thing. It was great. You know, the Sony baloney that was basically that they were going to die because of this. It obviously is all over. The CMA was the one that was pushing this the most. The EC had already dropped it, right? So they'd already dropped the whole console part. They were just worried about cloud, which, I mean, Microsoft is going and making deals left, right, and center with every cloud provider, right? So there's a couple more that have popped up. Fair enough. They'll get their deals too. Like, it doesn't matter to Microsoft. You know, make all the deals for the cloud and eliminate that, you know, issue. The CMA has followed suit. You notice like the timings, they decided to put them all next to each other and all that. And they're talking to each other, like you're saying, Boom. They know what's happening. You know, if you look at some of the other things that have been happening on the FTC side, they've been looking for documents from Microsoft, and they're also apparently looking to kind of make a deal. And much like what Pactor was saying, it's going to be who's going to make the deal first, because they want to, you know, one up each other to say, I got the concessions, right? And that's pretty much what's going to happen now. This is going to close pretty fast. You know, the CMA pulling that console thing, it pretty much eliminates the problem at this point. You know, the cloud thing, it's too small a market to actually stop something like this. Nobody is really clamoring on, I need cloud gaming. It's a cool potential, but like, I don't know if anybody read the Activision response to this. They specifically focused on cloud gaming, and they said it was just not useful to them in any way, right? They see what I was seeing, which is your devices are going to have enough power in 5 to 10 years, but the cloud is going to be irrelevant, right? You can just have your TV play the game. You can have your cell phone play the game. These things are getting so much more powerful year after year after year that you just don't need the cloud as much. I still think there'll be a play as far as cloud for some consumers, and then cloud to supplement, right? So you might have a lot of local, but some supplementing from the cloud to do some superfluous stuff in the background. But it is not, you know, for them, it's like, this is an irrelevancy. We are totally not interested in cloud at all. So the only reason this would happen is because Phil Spencer says we got to put it there, right? So, you know, that nascent market is not going to be enough for them to block this. So, and plus Microsoft is making all these 10-year deals with everybody, right? So, you know, this is done. It's the deal is pretty much done at this point. You know, the three big ones, as we know, FTC, CMA, and EC. The FTC one, you know, as you said, the gamers lawsuit pretty much nullified whatever the FTC had.
It did.
The judge said, you have no standing. There's nothing here. Bye. Right. So they left it open to say, you know, if you have something better, bring it. But what are they going to bring? Right. At this point, the two major ones in the European arena are going to say yes. And the FTC is likely to just do the same thing. You just see it from the administrative judge's perspective that this is all just a waste of time. And he's getting more frustrated with these wastes of time that they keep doing with these lawsuits. You know, I think the opposite might be cool, though, where if they've analyzed the industry and they've found, like, you know, what Sony has disclosed actually hurts their market, right? Because they're the ones who are doing all these bad things, right? And they're the ones dominating. And you can see in some of the disclosures from some of the developers that they're afraid. They did this anonymously because they
actually
don't
said, dude,
Sony.
Please elaborate
Right?
on that,
And,
because I don't think people understand what you're saying. There are developers that are literally afraid to make a move, because if they
Sony,
do, they will be punished and their companies could be crushed. Please elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is big and small, right? So you had, you know, a small developer who's like, you know, I'm making more money on the Xbox side. Again, anonymous, because they did not want to piss off Sony, right? But then you had big publishers, and why would they be afraid of? Because they are, right? If you're like an EA or a Take-Two, should you be afraid of Sony? You shouldn't in a normal market, but they are. Everybody's anonymous, and you're looking at that and you're saying, well, what is it about Sony then? Why are they afraid, right? They can talk about Nintendo, no problem, Xbox, no problem, but they won't say anything on the record with their name against Sony. Well, that tells you something, doesn't it? So, it really behooves the regulators to say, okay, now that we've opened our eyes to this, what is it about this company? What are they doing? And should we be looking at regulating them, right? Should we be doing something on their side? It is an interesting point. We'll see if that happens on their own. But I think at some point, the legislature needs to come in place as well, right? So you had a senator talking to Japan about, hey, you guys have this massive monopoly of your two consoles. We have no market share. And you're still trying to talk about our side and regulate our companies, but you don't regulate your own. You're allowing, Sony to continue to keep buying whatever they want, right? And they have this massive market share. Why is that okay, right? Equivalently, like they should be looking at it from this side of the aisle as well, right? This side of the pond. Say, all right, well, what is that in the American market? What is that in the EU market, right? Or in the Australia market, or the India market, or the China market? It doesn't matter, right? It should be something that's now opening up as far as, hey, Sony has really been dictating terms, pushing their weight around. And, fair enough, they're the market leader. That's what happens. But is that something that that this gaming market needs to sort of now be looked at and to say, what are the consumer rights here? And where have we failed the consumer and let this market just kind of do its own thing? In general, I'm okay with letting the market do its own thing. But at some point, too much consolidation causes, the consumer to lose, and that's where you kind of need the governments to step in.
Yes.
Say, well, hold on a second. Well, what are you doing here? Taking content away from Nintendo players, PC players, Xbox players, which are a majority in comparison to Sony, but Sony does have a big share, and so they can make these terms. Well, maybe that's not fair enough, and we should be stepping in and saying you can't do that, right?
Right.
So I'm hoping that is one of the outcomes of this. It would be, obviously beneficial for consumers, right? There's a lot of the next generation of players who are mobile and PC, not console, right? Console players seem to keep aging as we went into it. We're the ones playing on console, and if we have content deals that are blocking mobile and PC, that just harms the next generation, and that's just not a good place to be, right? So I'm hoping that is what comes out of it. But as far as this deal, this news was perfect. It was so good. It's like CMA is taking away the console SLC. We're done. The deal is done. Right? It's over. The deal is done.
Yeah, it's over.
So,
listen, I do want to grab you with another question. But before I do, there's a couple of things. First of all, folks, we've officially broken any record, shattered any record on Breakfast with Boom, with 875 plus people in the live chat. Holy freaking cow. That is bonkers. Thank you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, that you would take the time out of your day to be here. If you're new, I do ask, and I hate that. Again, I get scolded, and I have been scolded by Randall Thor, who I consider to be a mentor for getting into this business. I watched him for years before I became a podcaster, and he told me a couple of things. One of which, he says, Boom, you got to ask for the likes, because people just forget to hit the like button. He goes, but more importantly, you got to ask for the subs. And when I don't do it, and he's been on the show, you've heard him. He's come on the show, and he's been like, Boom, you're not asking for the subs. So he scolds me. But listen, real quick, Brett Bingham drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, more bad news for Sony or SIE. Anti-competitive agreements are going to be banned. Jim threatened everyone in a room with baseball bats, who had. Okay, let me just see if I get this right. Jim threatened everyone in a room who had baseball bats, and he threatened them with a Swiss Army knife. That's exactly what he did. Yeah. Sean Barry in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, what if the gamer lawsuit was a secret plot by Microsoft to show the FTC it's pointless? Oh my goodness. I love it. That's good stuff. Hargeet, listen, I have a question for you. I'm going to bring this question next to Infinite, Crispy, and then Fuzzy. And of course, we got to get Dreadpool in on get his opinion on with everything. We'll actually go to Dreadpool next. Hargeet, what is the consequence for the scorched earth plot or mentality that Sony had? Because I honestly think that they have, there's going to be a big sigh of relief with many of the publishers that you were just talking about, the smaller developers, where there is a new player in town, where they can go where they can, drop their game into a service that has confirmed 30 plus million subscribers, instant access, no monies that you have to get. Because what was Sony, $30,000 to get into the store, to get into advertising position? Like who could do that if you're a team of 3 people? Where are you getting 30 grand from? You're going to mortgage your house like the Cuphead people did in order to get the game done? No, you're not going to do that. But Microsoft has ID at Xbox, which, by the way, exploded on the scene at GDC, which was amazing. And, Chris Charla, who runs that, continues just to dominate that region. What are the consequences, Hargeet?
Yeah, I mean, the first consequence is, of course, the deal, right? So, they're going to need to come to the table and either sign that 10-year deal. Now, Microsoft being, Phil Spencer is going to be very nice. If it was me and they're like, all the SLCs are gone, you can come to the table. I want God of War. I want Spider-Man. You can then get COD, because COD is more important to you than all your games, right, Jim? You said that. Did you not say that? You did say that. So then give me your games, right? You want COD? No problem. Give me your games, right? But that's not what Phil would do. That's what I would do. I would do that. I'd say, you want a deal? No problem. I want these games in Game Pass. You can go ahead and have COD, right? But that's not what Phil's going to do. So they're going to try to sign some sort of deal. I assume it's going to be the same 10-year deal. The next part of this is what happens in the industry, right? So the constant things that Sony has been doing, calling themselves out for all the stuff that they themselves have done and said, oh, Microsoft can do this stuff. Yeah, because you've been doing it, right? So fine. Now we're going to analyze you, right? I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that's going to happen here. Detailing all of your own practices and calling them anti-competitive, anti-consumer, and then expecting nobody's paying attention? Do you really think the world's that dumb? Right? So look, this is going to come and hit you, right? At some point, somebody's going to come up and say in the government, yeah, but you did all this, right? And you're saying it's bad. Like, so why shouldn't we fine you for this? Right? Why shouldn't we tell you can't do that anymore? Right? So that is probably the biggest thing that could happen. Now, the other part is like the gamers lawsuit. Gamers could do that, right? We could come up and say, hey, you've been doing this anti-competitive stuff. You yourself outlined it. Well, guess what? I'm suing you for it, right? And make that happen as far as a judgment call, right? So I think that's going to be one of the interesting things. The other part is they've told other publishers they ain't crap. Call of Duty is more important than Apex Legends, than PUBG, there's so many other games. And if you look at the top played games, COD isn't just the only game there. There's so many other ones. And you said none of those matter. The only one that matters is Call of Duty. Really? You think that's going to go over well? I get it. Business is business. But, at some point, people have feelings, especially in an industry based on art. You kind of have to see that that's not going to go over well, right? So, yes, money matters. But that's sort of like egos. And, that's going to be an interesting thing to work out, right? So when it comes down to like, hey, do I take the deal from Sony on something, or do I take the deal from Microsoft, who never insulted me? Yeah, I might take the Microsoft bag, or Nintendo's bag, because they never said I'm shit. So right. I might say I'm going to go with that.
Listen, you're not lying. You're not lying, Hargeet. There is something to be said about, as a publisher, whether you're big or small, or as a developer, big or small, where you look at the market leader and they brush you off as if you are meaningless, and that you must come to the Godfather, meaning PlayStation. There is something to be said when the Godfather is sitting in prison, right? Yep. And there's no one running the block anymore except the guys that were doing it the right way from the beginning. And Microsoft, we've heard by so many stories. As a matter of fact, there was a video that came out of GDC from the head of the studio that brought Descenders. And he did a whole 8-minute video about how his experience with Xbox was amazing, how he was able to make other games to launch into the service because of Xbox Game Pass. Let me tell you something, folks. Game Pass is going to explode on the scene, and not just because you're going to see, like big AAA games. Wait until you start to see, because like I said, I know several developers, and I won't say them live on the air because we talk privately, and that's private conversation, that told me straight up, Boom, The reason my game isn't in Game Pass is because there is a wait list. There's a line to get in there. And that's for a reason, folks. Because, again, Sony charges you $30,000 to get any kind of, viewage of said game, which is going to get eaten up by all of the big titles. And Microsoft drops you in, and you automatically, instantly have 30 million eyes. Now, maybe only 1 million people download your game, but 1 million people, it's huge for indie. It's absolutely huge. First of all, we got to get to Dreadpool. We got to welcome in BitCloud. Now, this is a brother that has been a part of Breakfast with Boom. He is one of the representatives of PlayStation that I think that you should follow. He's worked with IGN. I love him like a brother. BitCloud, welcome back, dude. We're going to get to you in a hot second. But before we get to Dreadpool and BitCloud and get everyone else back in here. One more point,
but you can go ahead.
Yeah, no. Do you think? Give us another point.
So the one last point is the idea of subscription service thing is now done, right? Because COD is going to be in subscription. Diablo is going to be in subscription.
Yeah.
That debate's over. Sony is going to, in the next 5 years, they're putting their games day and date. It's going to happen. There's no way out of it. It's done. Yeah. That thing is done. That ship is sailed.
Hargett, he actually sees to
it is what it is.
The cracks.
No, but I'm glad. I as a consumer who has a great pension, that has a roof like most people in America or anywhere in the world, your money has a limitation. Entertainment is always the first thing to be cut out. And I say, why should we cut out entertainment? For me, no matter how hard my life gets, and sometimes, folks, I mean, I'm transparent, but there's some things that go on that I don't tell you about. And sometimes for me, besides my wife being my best friend, Mrs. BoomStick, being there for me, games are a nice getaway. Yeah, sometimes I just want to fly around on a broom and live in Hogwarts, folks. That's what I want to do. And I have done that for days. Yes, and, no matter how hard life gets, sometimes I just want to pretend I'm a Spartan who looks like part of Tiger Force, thanks to Umbra's original design. I just want to run around and shoot people, right? I just want to have fun as a Spartan. And Game Pass allows for me to do that. And I want Sony to be a part of that. I want them dropping their games day and date. I want Nintendo to be a part of that because I buy both Nintendo games. I have, folks, if you don't believe me, I'll show you the collection. I have 80 plus physical games for the Switch. It's one of my favorite. I love it. I play the Switch 7 days a week. I just showed you a controller I just bought. I love it. I'm a big Nintendo head. But before we get to Dreadpool and BitCloud, I do want to run a promotion. This is for the merch store. This commercial was done by Sean LeBrie. If you go to the merch store, which the link was just dropped into the chat, right now to the end of the month, there is a sale going on. Any and all purchases get 15% off your total order if you type in the promotional code BoomStick in all caps. So check it out. This is some of the stuff we have, and there are at least 5 other new designs in active development. We'll be bringing those probably in May. Check it out. There you go, brother. There's my shill for the day. Listen, you asked for it, and I delivered. And thanks to the incredible art talent of Sean LeBrie, Ben Kenobi, and the Richter of Twitter. They helped me build this store. They helped me build the designs, and I can't wait to share some of the other ones that we have in development. But Dreadpool, good morning, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. You must have raced home like a lunatic. This is breaking news. What are your thoughts on the CMA removing PlayStation as a concern? Like this is big.
This, you're not kidding. I was a 2-hour drive that I cut shorter than that. I just won't say how short. But the whole time I've been listening in the van driving home, and like I pictured this in my head. So I want everybody to picture this too. And I think this pretty much sums up the whole show today. You know, Phil and Jim looking over the war table and just going back, and Phil, as he stands up, the chair just falls over behind him and just makes this loud noise.
Love it.
As you hear the slap on the table. Domino, mother, father.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Really, Dread? Oh God.
I can't really cuss, but that was the picture I had.
Oh, listen, it is what it is. I think that this is the day that we have all been waiting for, Dread. The CMA, like I said it before. I don't know, you weren't in the on the panel at the time. There were some days that I woke up and I saw some of the provisional findings from the CMA, and I was like, man, I think this deal is getting blocked. Honestly, I thought it was going to be. I really thought that Sony had their claws in that region of the world so deep that there was they were not going to get shaken off. But apparently that's not the case. The rule of law, the rule of logic, and more importantly, Dread, numbers, actual numbers that cannot be argued. Well, the truth finally came out, and them being the market leader, especially, and again, folks, think about this, and I talked about this. You've heard me say this, Dread. You're a numbers guy. You work in a company that you're invested in numbers. For the month of February, Japan, 360% year over year for Sony.
Mm-hmm.
The EU Commission, 400%, and in the UK, 316%, folks, year over year for PlayStation. They're clearly the market leader. This is great news for Activision. This is great news for Xbox. But you know who's this even more great news for? And this is what gets left off the table, at least not on this show. We've been talking about this. You know that if you follow me, I've been talking about this forever. And Dreadpool, so have you. The human factor, folks. The actual people that make these games that we love and get lost in these worlds are now going to be under the tutelage of Microsoft, who is considered by Glassdoor one of the premier places to get your company rated in the top 10. The people at Activision Blizzard who have been under scrutiny and abuse for years are now probably celebrating and cheering that this deal is going to get done. Talk about it, Brad.
I mean, well, just with that part right there, imagine just being one of the developers, one of the workers. Even if you're not a developer, there's still many positions in these companies that they're sweating just because of everything that's going on, all the stuff in the past, all the stuff that's going to happen in the future. This is a weight off their shoulders. If you think about it, now you can ease back and actually fully concentrate on your job versus what's going to happen to your job, and that's the other thing. You can't change what is facts, right? But you can alter Excel files. You can alter this and that, right? And leaving things out. But there's so much when you're talking about 300%, 400% each time. And it's like, there's not enough manipulation that you can alter some of this stuff to make it look good on you, because what are they doing? They're promoting it to their investors saying, hey, look, we got 400% this time. On this one here, we got 300% profit. They're promoting and bragging for their investors that they're doing good and they're getting their money's worth. Yeah, but at the same time, it's also bad for them, because now we actually see how bad of the deceptive practices have been over time. Mm-hmm. And now that these deceptive practices are coming out, hey, what if they do this to our game, that they're going to provide us? What if they do this? You've been doing the same thing. I mean, we talked about it the other day with Callisto Protocol. Where's the ray tracing on the mirror? I mean, I know it's so stupid and so simple on that, where you're on the ship and you're looking at the mirror and there's no ray tracing on the Xbox version. And you're talking about the Series X. There's no ray tracing there. Really, do you have to be that petty? Yes, Sony is. I'm double petty, and I would do the same thing back to them. But at the same time, if it was my game, I would not want to ruin my game just for pettiness sake. You know what I'm saying? I would not want to put that out there and put I don't know, a lesser product than I could. And I see the same thing with Microsoft. They don't want to do that. Xbox is the same way. You know, they don't want to put a lesser product out there, and it's starting to show. Not only from the facts, not only from the fanfare that they're garnering because of what they're saying, and the narratives that the opposite side have been fighting against, and trying to manipulate the words and leaving everything out of context. You know, you take one spot and you're like, boom, here's what he said. Well, he said not in front of it. You took out the not, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when you have all this stuff, it's good to see that finally, how many times we've said that they're not listening to us, but now finally these governmental bodies are actually listening to us and paying attention to what is actually being presented and the deceptive practices that have been played on them also. So it's just finally, it's a good day for everybody. Resident Evil 4 is launched.
Yes.
We're
by the way, folks, my collector's edition is shipped. I know a lot of people had theirs canceled. The day it was announced, I got in.
Oh, you actually got it?
I got it. Yeah, dude. I got the
lucky.
shipping notification. I can't believe, because a lot of people had their stuff canceled, and you know, Resident Evil was my heart.
When's it arrive for you?
I think it's out for delivery now. I have to check. I enjoy it. And you know what's crazy? I bought it digitally. And I bought it digital in the Xbox. Normally what I do is roles reversal. I'll buy a digital on one platform that I didn't get it for. Like normally I'd buy the PlayStation version and I play it and I beat it, and then obviously the Xbox version I get the collector's edition. So I have two versions. I might give away the second one. I got to see. I got to see if I can cancel one, my Xbox one, then I'll buy the PlayStation one. But listen, Dread, good stuff as always, brother, and I love the honesty. Like I said, this is a good day. It is a great day for a lot of again, this decision, or this information that comes out of the CMA. There's a lot to get excited about. If you're a consumer, if you're an Xbox consumer, you know that your Xbox Game Pass subscription is now going to be through the roof amazing. If you play on cloud and you specifically want to play on a particular place that wasn't available before, it is going to be available now. If you are someone that works for Activision, Blizzard, or King, you know that under the leadership of Microsoft, we're going to see some big moves, big power moves. I would not be surprised that you see the announcement of ABK. They put someone in charge once Bobby Kotick leaves. That could be a Sarah Bond. That could be a Lulu Chang. It's going to be someone that is going to have the people's well-being at the front at the front of any conversation. I think that is incredibly important.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive purge.
It is. The troublemakers of ABK are going to be gone. They're going once the deal is done, people are going to be leaving.
I know a lot of people are upset they're going to get pretty much golden parachutes as of the deal. But I mean, honestly, I would rather them be out and away from the company than anything else. Yes. And I'm okay with that as long as they, we get proper games out the studio. Better games, quality games.
It'd be nice if they were penalized on the way out, but just get them out of there.
Just get them out. Yeah, just get them out. So a big cloud
is get them out for sure.
Let's get your hot take on this, brother. This is industry breaking news to wake up to. Really glad that you had a chance to pop on. We haven't had you on here in a long time. I know you've been doing some really great things on Bits Cloud Gaming on your YouTube channel. I mean, what are your initial thoughts on this? Because obviously, you've caught it pretty down the middle. We all knew Jim was using some falsities.
Oh yeah.
Again, I said this, and just picture in your head, this is Jim Ryan, going into the CMA. He's got the bandage around the head, he's got the eye patch, he's got his arm in a sling, and he's got the one crutch, and he's limping in there. And he really should have just strolled in there because they're the market leader, and not by just a pinch. They're the market leader by substantial numbers.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts, man?
I mean, again, in many ways, like I've said this with you all numerous times here, I get what he's trying to do, but it's like logically, does it really hold much weight now? I mean, Call of Duty, yeah, it's a big name, but the way he's hyping it up is like it's the be all end all. Like it destroys every single thing that you have built a partnership with. Not to mention legacy titles that you should already have had out here for the longest time. Killzone should be out here. Resistance should be out here. Should be even more games in the horizon with multiplayer in mind down the horizon. The biggest thing Sony keeps hyping up and the community keeps hyping up is what? Factions 2. And again, Factions 2 could very well be great. There's a good chance of Factions 2 being great. But the thing is, though, I'm all about seeing. Seeing is believing. I don't want to just hear about it. I want to see what's up. And the funny thing about this, too, this news comes out literally after the whole insane PR disaster that just happened the other day with Tony Todd revealing Spider-Man 2's launch window. And Sony has not said anything in regards, period. I mean, granted, he had to do a retract on the whole thing, but Sony's been super quiet. And it makes you wonder, why is Sony so quiet about stuff like this? Usually, times like this, you would have had what? Another state of play. You would have more info come out. You would have updates on the showcase of some sorts. There hasn't been any information of that sorts at all. We've been getting tad bits of snippets of information from different websites involving like studios like Haven Studios and whatnot, but nothing directly from PlayStation as it is. Now, as far as the deal is concerned, again, I said this on RGT, my show. I'm like, dude, the deal is going to go through one way or another. Either Microsoft's going to end up paying more money than they want to get, things, through loyal fees or whatever the case to be, to get it go through, or it's just going to be, a long drawn out battle. But as you guys are clearly seeing, it is pretty much done. Now, what's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. As of today, you're going to see a meltdown on Twitter. That's just the first thing you're going to see. Now, as far as the situation and how this is going to affect Microsoft, I mean, again, what's funny about this? I say this with Crispy Bomb all the time. Y'all know it's like how dudes bring up like sales statistics on Twitter or in YouTube videos, like PlayStation sold this many games versus Xbox. Sony dominated like by 82% over Microsoft and PC. A lot of them didn't picture and think that was going to be used against them in the long run. If it's such a monopoly and Sony's going against them and is up against a monopoly, well, the numbers reflect that you're kind of already the monopoly right now. We're not even looking at Resident Evil 4 sales yet, and I guarantee you the highest percentage will be on PlayStation 5.
There's no doubt about it,
or Xbox. Let's go back to other games. Forspoken, another prime example. What other third-party games that dropped that you guys can name? I guarantee you it's going to say PS5 over Xbox, PC. That's just how it's been. Sony's been market leader for 2 years now. And, the feedback has already been given. I've given my feedback multiple times. I had people come at me multiple times over, but it is what it is. It's the facts, though. There should be more than just remakes for this console.
Yeah,
I didn't pay $500 just to play The Last of Us again. And mind you, it's a lesser version. I'll tell you why? Because you don't have the main game mode.
You don't have factions.
You don't have factions. Yeah. So what's the point? You know what I mean? Yeah, people say they did it for the TV show. Okay, that's your excuse. Okay, what about the rumored Horizon Zero Dawn? Why am I?
They're remaking Horizon Zero Dawn for PlayStation 5 again. I get it, but see the problem, and I think with BitCloud here is this is why I hate Sony. I love PlayStation, but I hate Sony because they nickel and dime you. Again, if you own and I own Horizon for Horizon Zero Dawn, I have the collector's edition right here. The statue is right here. It's one of my favorite pieces.
Oh, yeah.
Why should I have to pay anything to have the upgraded PlayStation 5 stuff?
Yeah, that's wild to me. Like,
ridiculous
upgrade fees for what? A game that I've already played? You know what I'm saying? Like a game I've already played. And I guarantee they'll probably do the same thing they did with Last of Us. They have like that weird Firefly edition thing again, just to try to get more out of the game.
Yep.
And funny thing is, too, conveniently, Sony, remember how they said they were done with those Firefly editions, but now they got them back in stock? They like restock those now. It's like, dude, like Sony's just all over the place when it comes to just how they're going about this and nickel and diming. Again, some people might be okay with it. I'm at that point where it's like, dude, I don't care about playing the same games that I played before. We already got Spider-Man repackaged again twice. We got Last of Us repackaged again. We got Horizon being talked about. How long is it going to be before God of War 2018 is repackaged again? That's
no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? How long is it going to be? Because you got these TV shows of mine. You know what I'm saying? Like, how long is it going to be before you see all these games get that same treatment? It's like, hey, see, we got this. We got these games. It's going to be. I was like, dude, no. there should be new ITPs, there should be newer experiences, there should be a big emphasis, heavy emphasis on multiplayer because you really need it. The biggest thing Sony has always relied on was Call of Duty for a crutch when it came to multiplayer engagement numbers.
Yep.
Those days are about to come undone in the next couple of years. So it's like, where's your backup plan? Where is your Killzone? Why isn't Killzone given the red carpet? And
well, I will say this to that point, being that they didn't sign the deal where Microsoft was offering Call of Duty into their streaming service, into PlayStation Plus, I think that's off the table. I think you're going to get Call of Duty for 10 years. You're going to get parity like we promised. And I think that I agree with Cargit on this. If it were me, sign the deal, no problem. But we're taking PlayStation Plus out of the equation. You had that. Now that you're not part of the CMA and you can't hold that against us, we're going to remove that. So it's going to go into Game Pass. Yeah. It's going to go into Xbox Game Pass day and date.
To that point, though, that service is going to get more into like that. You're going to see similarities, bigger similarities coming forward from PlayStation.
There's no doubt about it. You know what? Who wins? We win, folks. Yeah. We win right here because as consumers, if Sony has to pivot or bend the knee as such to put their games, and their games are amazing, in their service day and date, listen, folks, understand this. If they put their games into the service, they're probably going to have better numbers than Xbox because their games are really good AAA first-party games.
Yeah.
So it's a win for Sony, but it's also they had to bend the knee. Listen, folks, let me we're closing in on the 2-hour mark. I know that I wanted to talk about
last point.
Yeah, make your last point, brother.
No, because okay. So here's a fun fact. So we got the classics on the the pro version of the
medium version, correct? Yes.
No, the other one, the main one, the highest tier.
Oh,
right?
okay.
The classics or whatever, whatnot.
That's funny. Premium. Yeah,
premium. Premium. Remember how for the longest time the narrative has been we don't buy PlayStation 5s or next gen consoles for old games. I just love how that narrative has just slowly went away because more people are hyping up old games.
Yes.
So what makes you think this whole narrative of like, it hurts the developer when Sony eventually pulls the switch and says, hey guys, we're gonna be all on here day and date. The narrative went from, as long as the games are 5 years old, I'm okay with it, to as long as the games are 2 years old, I'm okay with it. Well, a year is fine. It's like, a year is fine. Okay, what's 2 weeks?
Yeah.
What's 5 days? You know what I'm saying? That's the narrative of the internet. That's how ridiculous the internet has become, and how
Microsoft just played that game, Cloud, right? Because they did
the goalpost keeps moving.
Yeah, right? Indeed, it does.
You want to play it early,
dude? I really feel like that shit from Bad Santa,
or just wait.
Yeah, right? I agree. No, I feel like that scene from Bad Santa, Crispy. What do you say? What's 1 point? That's literally how bad it has become, and it gets worse. And again, people wonder why they're so quiet. Dude, listen. If you want the best out of PlayStation, you gotta speak up about it. But the thing is, people don't want to. They just want to follow the trend. They want to just go, it's okay to hate on this. But we can't talk about this. It was bad enough we had dudes make this ridiculous little Fifth Amendment type of commandment thing they were trying to do. It was like, thou shalt not complain about PlayStation games. It's like, dude, stop.
Ridiculous. Literally ridiculous. Yeah.
And that's the funny thing.
I'm wondering.
I was going to say.
I'm wondering, Boom, if you guys mentioned about a subscription service, if Sony did actually go that route, which, like Karki pointed out, I feel like they will eventually. But will our hooved brothers and sisters actually get on that, seeing how they told us time and time again they like to support the devs? Will they actually support that?
It depends on their narrative at that time.
If it supports the narrative and they can spin it for clicks, YouTube likes,
or
Twitter,
right.
or Twitter traction, best believe they will find some ridiculous way. Remember, the argument for the longest time was sales numbers. Y'all remember this? Y'all were here when I said this. It was sales numbers. But now it's PlayStation got the most attention. Remember that, Hargit? PlayStation got the most retention, or something like that, or audience retention, something like that. I'm like, dude, engagement numbers. Sorry, that's what I'm looking for. And I'm like, what did we get on this goalpost? I thought it was sales numbers, but now they're not talking about that. We're talking about actual playing of these games and how these games are affecting. And the funny thing is too, and people, this is where it gets even more weird. It becomes like a cult. I remember that whole argument when dudes were bringing up like, oh, Horizon Zero Dawn or Forbidden West is not a one and done or something that you just play and you're done with. I have seen so many people that have got caught. I mean, I recalled one out in particular. Chris, we remember that. But it's funny. That game has so many weirdos come out the woodwork, especially come at me over it when I said this. But come to think about it, these guys ain't even beat the damn game. So it's like, what else is going on in the PlayStation community? How many of these dudes have actually beaten these PlayStation games?
Let's just bring context.
The more vocal ones haven't at all.
You haven't been here in a while, bit.
Yeah, well, I will say this.
I just want to. This man, Big Cloud, is a platinum king, and that's all.
Oh, yes, he is, Mr. Platinum himself. Yes, that is Mr. Platinum right there. He beats games. He is a representative of the brand, and in the best way possible because he plays it. Listen, folks. First of all, we almost hit 900 live viewers. I thank you. I cannot thank you enough for the incredible amount of support. Just on the show today, we've already gotten 25 new subscribers. That's a big deal. Again, very, very hard to keep an audience engaged, and I'm glad that that I'm able to do that with these incredible men that are here on your screen today, that are a part of my shows each and every week. Real quick, let me just catch up on the super chats and we'll get outros. Brett Bingham drops a very generous additional $5 super chat and says, Phil speaking to Jim Ryan be like the T-100 in Terminator walking into the bar. I want your clothes, your boots, your gun, and your motorcycle. Oh, my goodness. Oh, no. Shamar Witherspoon. Now, this is really nice. First of all, Shamar, thank you so much for the very generous $5 super chat. And that is amazing. But it's his comment that I find even more endearing. He says, this podcast is addictive. Thank you guys for what y'all do. And that's very kind of you to say, brother. I'm glad that you enjoy it. Again, get ready because I'm already working on Monday and Tuesday's show in my mind, live on the air. I told Dave already, I'm already working on Monday's show. I got the artwork ready to rock and roll. Next week is going to be big. And thanks to Mr. Shaw of Microsoft Communications, he's already said, be prepared. Microsoft has a lot to say next week, so we're going to be busy. Brett Bingham drops an additional $5 super chat and says, devs dealing with Sony be speaking like Rodney Dangerfield. I get no respect. I mean, it's very true. And Just Bring It Gaming drops a very generous $8 super chat and says Sony are going to be aggressive with timed exclusives and their live service games. They want to still be the market leader by the time the 10-year deal is done. Oh, there's no doubt about it. Wait until you see their next showcase is going to be the Year of Dreams. It is going to be, they're literally going to be dropping bombs left and right. I can't wait for it, to be honest with you. I can't wait to see what they have because they've been silent for years. But let's get to the outros. Dave, you have a show coming up on Sunday with Red Tree. I believe Hargeet Chani is going to be your guest if he can make it, which is going to be pretty dope.
If he can make
it,
yes.
Talk about the gaming console, or the gamers console.
Council.
The game. You talk about your podcast if you wouldn't mind. Sorry, I had to bring live on the air.
That's all right, buddy.
And when that happens, and more importantly, where could people subscribe to you to get your channel past 1K? Because you're getting close each and every day.
Yeah, well, I just dropped it in the chat. So if everybody wants to click on that and then hit the subscribe button, be greatly appreciated. The show, the big show, is going to be on Sunday, and it should be really good, lively debate. I wonder what we'll be talking about. Like I said, hopefully Hargate will be able to make it. He has the invitation, and I'll send him the link, and if he's able to make it, that would be great. But he is actually quite busy this weekend because it is a very big PAX weekend. Totally understand and respect that man's time. So just so you know, Hargate, love you. But oh man, it's gonna be a good show. It is Gamers Council. It is where we actually not only discuss the biggest topic of the day, but we also get the people in the chat to actually chime in, and we'll talk about what they say. We'll bring their comments up on the screen. It's basically a good way for you to get in on the conversation. If you really get into gaming like we do, but you want an outlet to talk about it, this is a show for you. Come join us. It's going to be fun. And man, it is, it's a really good week, and it looks like it's going to get even better. Also, I had a great interview yesterday, which will drop on Monday with 108 Dragons TV. He's pretty wild interview. I tell you, you definitely want to tune in for that. Lemon, shout out to Lemon. He's actually in the chat today too. The facts, exactly.
I can only imagine he dropped about 5 of them on the show.
Yeah, just a few, but
up,
it's a very good listen. So hopefully you get to listen to that on Monday. So again, thank you, Boom, so much. And man, what an amazing panel today. I love every single one of these, and every single one of these guys are interviewed on my channel, just so you know. So you come by and find out more about them. And the link is in the description.
Absolutely,
Thanks,
brother. Yeah. And listen, Hargeet, I'm just looking at my YouTube feed, and Xbox exclusive caused major meltdown for PlayStation, the newest Source video from Gaz from Game On Daily. Talk about it, brother. Lord. Where and I would imagine that he is scrambling to get out of work to talk about, because obviously, if you didn't know, Gaz is an attorney in real life. Yes, that guy is an actual attorney. As much source as he gives, he's probably very proper in the courtroom, but his mind is racing and running. So talk about it, Hargeet.
Where can they find clients? You see what he does on Twitter. I'll be laughing. I'd be dead. That was my turn.
yeah. Talk about it, Hargeet.
Yeah. So yeah, check out the latest Sauce video, and then I'm sure there's gonna be a fun one. We're gonna have to do something with the latest CMA disclosure and all the Sony fun that's been going on, and the deal is kind of done. So we'll see how that goes. Check us out tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll see what goes on there with Asante and Porter Rock. I think are going to be on. And then RDX on Tuesdays, and
nice.
Right here with Boom on Primetime Gaming on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. So,
and your Twitter, what's your Twitter again?
Oh, he does
My
not
Twitter
have...
is non-existent.
Smart man.
I'll make you one. I'll make one for you. Don't worry.
Honestly, you're not missing anything.
I am available on Discord.
That's right.
And my gamer tag is HChani on Xbox. You can check me out there.
He's a good man.
Thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate you being here. You always bring when you're smiling, you know it's going to be a good show. Love it. Love the smile. Infinite Umbra. Listen, I would imagine that Risk It for the Biscuit is his salty ass is probably rewriting his show as we speak. The Xbox Infinite podcast tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talk about it, brother. What are you guys talking about tonight?
You know, it's unfortunate because this one was pre-recorded, unfortunately. But
oh my god, you're kidding me! Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Which made it even better to join with you guys today, though, so I can at least get some of the bars out, and celebrate, with some tears and such. But
you know what? After you talk about that, please, by all means, let people know what you're doing. Your own thing is getting ready to get launched. We want to talk about that. We want to promote that. Talk about it, brother.
Absolutely. Yeah, like Boom pointed out, 8 o'clock Eastern. It still will be going live, premiering live today. We had a good brother Ham Solo, nice. As you all can see in the chat, Ham from TSWS Gaming, joining us this week. It was a really good discussion. Despite
good dude, very good dude, very smart, very his channel is excellent.
It is, and we did talk about one particular thing that I love. If you all haven't seen me talking about it, and that's Unreal Engine. So I made my case for why Unreal Engine needs to be used more, and in my opinion, more by Microsoft first party. But you all definitely come by and check that out tonight. We'll be in the chat for sure, so it won't be like he's just watching it and nobody's there. We'll be there communicating with everybody in the chat. Of course, like you pointed out, Boom, on Tuesdays I'll be here with you guys, of course, at 12 Eastern, and on Twitter, you guys can find me under Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. As Boom was pointed out, my own thing is the fix. So that's right there. It's pretty much done. I'm just going over OBS to learn it, and I got people helping me with that. And I need to get myself a soundboard. And after that, and a capture card, to be fair. But I can probably delay that and just use like stock footage or something like that for a while before. But other than that, then I'm ready to go. So I think maybe if not this first week, then it's the second week of April, we'll be going live, me and Danny McG.
Nice, good stuff. Can't wait to if you guys talk about it on Tuesday. I would imagine that this is going to potentially explode on Monday, so we'll have a lot to talk about on Tuesday. And of course, when we get there, we will continue to push and promote your the fix, because I like what you guys are putting down. Danny's a really good dude, smart. You got a great partner there, and I think it's going to be a big show. Definitely, we'll talk more about it, but definitely check out Infinite Umber on Twitter so you can learn more about his new show, The Fix, with launching very soon, hopefully. But Crispy Bomb, sell your brand, brother. Talk about where people could find you, because I would imagine they're coming for you. You've been very salty on Twitter, and you're going to be even more saltier, and you're going to drink the tears as I did in my the Xbox Factor mug, which I got from teespring.com, and you can too. Talk about it, brother. Sell your brand.
I love that. Little plug, little shameless plug.
It's my little shill. It's my little shillness.
I will say, like, some tea company needs to make fanboy tears, like an actual like tea. It's fanboy tears, because I mean, to have BitCloud, I mean, I haven't heard your voice in so long. You've been so quiet for so long, and you're just sitting here laughing because this dude's got more platinums than half these damn fanboys combined.
Yeah,
so,
I agree. Yep.
I don't know what to say. I mean, when logic comes into play, you got to realize and recognize and appreciate it. So that being said, at Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Crispy Bomb 28 Xbox Live. You can find me on Retro Renegades Tuesday night, 7 p.m. We got Primetime Gaming Wednesday, 7 p.m. And the next podcast, 8 p.m. Thursdays. We'll see you then.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for being here as always. Dreadpool, I'm going to bring you up on the screen here. Let me get you. Where are you? There you are. You can find. Hold on a second. I gotta take off the brand.
Yeah, take off the brand.
Yeah, hold on, matrimony. Let me take that off. Okay, now you can see him. You can find Dreadpool at linktree.com/Dreadpool, YouTube.com/Dreadpool, Twitter at Dreadpool, TikTok at Dreadpool, as well as hover.gg/Dreadpool. You can find him on Gaming Beyond the Box with Wilmy Hood and that crazy crew, Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as back here Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, you can go over to his YouTube channel to check out a very unique and cool show, Breaking Bread with Dread. Sell your brand, brother. Talk about it.
Oh, yes. Definitely. Thank you to every one of you guys. We almost broke the 1,000, which is unbelievable, but at the same time, you've pushed the show and everything, all the other shows too. You've pushed them all and just blown up the narrative with building and a better community. And again, we can't thank you guys enough for being here for us for this. Breaking Bread with Dread, we got some episodes I'm still trying to schedule out for coming up, but we do have some small little Breaking Bread snippets next week. I will not be here, and those snippets will be because 4GQ TV, Carlo, which is, as most people know, as Italian Clowns, we will be at MegaCon next week. So be prepared to get flooded with a whole bunch of little shorts and anything else that we can hopefully grab your attention. That's really cool stuff, and maybe some little behind the scenes interviews that we might be able to pop off. So yeah, definitely thank you. And I'm glad I made this show because I really wanted to say that Domino bit so bad.
Yeah, listen, that was funny stuff. I'm laughing live on the air because my very good friend, I would consider him to be an extension of the family, Sean Labrie, put out a tweet just now. He says, please reach out to your PlayStation brothers and sisters. And why did he say that? Because trending on social media at number one with 52.7 thousand tweets, Sony. Trending after that is Activision Blizzard. Trending after that, heart attacks.
Wait, is it really? Oh, no way.
Oh,
no way.
It's go to Sean Labrie. He just tweeted it.
Oh, no way. That's actually ridiculous.
I can't do it. Listen, speaking of heart attacks, Fuzzy Belvedere, we're going to get more saltiness with you on Monday. Brother, sell your brand. Talk about where people can have a heart attack if they want to see the fast racing that you do on your YouTube channel. But more importantly, if they're interested in potentially having some tears sipped while you smile from ear to ear like a Cheshire cat, where can they find you on social media?
Just want to thank you for having me on here today. Awesome panel today, man. You guys are the greatest. And thanks to everybody in the chat for interacting with us and catching us live. Oh, man. For those that want to hear my rambles, rants, and all the messiness that will continue all throughout between now and Monday, you can find me on Xbox Ultimate at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Fun Speculations channel later on tonight. The Shop Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PTK Blam's channel. And then back here on Monday for Xbox Lunch Break Special at 12 noon right here on this channel. Man, have a great weekend. Enjoy Twitter. Enjoy the tears and saltiness. It is only the beginning and more to come. So, yeah.
No, absolutely, brother. And last but not least, obviously, BitCloud, brother, sell your brand. Talk about what you're doing. Where can people subscribe to BitCloud Gaming on YouTube? Reach out to you on social media, on Twitter specifically. And man, it's great to hear from you. Great that you popped in today. How you been?
I've been good, man. Matt, I caught the end of the show. I was like, damn, I set my alarm. I was like, crap, I missed a good chunk of it. But it was good to at least catch the show, be back on, hang out with the fam. Good to see you. Boom, of course. Congrats on 12K.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Web Dave, Crispy, of course, and Dreadboy, always a pleasure.
Always.
It's always fun to hang out with Hargate when I can, even though Hargate doesn't show no love back to me. Now I'm playing. Shout out to Hargate. always good to catch Hargate on the show. Obviously, the chat, shout out to you guys. You guys can find me BitCloud Gaming pretty much everywhere, YouTube, Twitch, the works. I actually dropped a review that Boom would actually love. This on lordsofgaming.net. Did my first written review of Hogwarts Legacy.
Yes.
It was awesome. A lot of cool feedback from that. So that's what I'm doing a lot of writing aside from that. And just prepping for the future, I guess you can say. But you can also catch me later today, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my show. It's called RGT. We'll definitely be talking about this and among some other funny topics. So I'll see you there.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I love you, and thank you so much for being here. Again, as always, love your success. Well deserved. You are definitely a pillar of the PlayStation community, just like Mr. Badbit is. We're happy to have you on today's show. Real quick, an update to what's happening. Gaming trending. Jim Ryan at 1,000+ tweets. Bloodborne at 11,000 tweets. And guess who's under that? Phil Spencer. So the updated list is this is going to be one hell of a weekend. And of course, I want to thank all the super chats that came in. They're just unbelievably grateful, generous. Oh, I got it. Thank you, brother. Carl Andrews. And thanks to Web Dave for dropping him in there. He drops a $5 super chat and says, I'm playing the beta right now for Diablo 4. Works fine on PlayStation, but couldn't get it on Xbox. That is weird. Definitely dropped it into the socials so someone at Blizzard knows that it's not working on Xbox. Raiden Blade drops an additional, he's been a channel member for over a year, says, did you miss my super chat, Boom? I don't think I did.
We dropped it just in case.
Okay, drop it in there, brother. Oh, yeah, here it is right here. Raiden Blade drops an additional £5 super chat and says, SIE blocks freedom of speech. Oh, my God. Devs are scared to speak. A dictatorship via leading the industry and looking weak when behind the scene, you're mine. Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong with that statement. Thank you for the generosity, brother, as always, and thank you for the comment. But listen, folks, this is going to be a great time for Xbox gamers, especially if you are someone on a budget. Microsoft is going to be adding a ridiculous amount of content to Xbox Game Pass, not outside of just Call of Duty. And what's interesting, folks, and I think this is the real kicker, is there was some concern. There was originally some talk about all of ABK being a part of PlayStation. That's not, in fact, the case. It is going to be just Call of Duty, meaning that anything new that comes out of Activision, Blizzard, or King and comes to console is probably going to be exclusive to Xbox or on a streaming service if it's an Xbox Game Pass through the cloud. It's going to get very interesting in the next couple of days. Stay tuned to Double Barrel Gaming and everyone's channel, because there's going to be a lot to talk about. And of course, I'm going to close out the show, folks, with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. That's something that my dad said to us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.